The humble crepe becomes a show-stopping dessert when stacked layer upon layer with green tea, flavored pastry cream, and a topping of green tea. Let me show you how to make this exquisite cake. It's not so difficult. 6 large eggs. Put those right into your blender jar. 2 1/4 cups of whole milk. And, oh, this is the best part, cooled melted butter. 12 tablespoons and 1 tablespoon of vanilla, best quality. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And 1 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour. And just put that right into the blender. That's 1/2, another 1/2, and the last 1/2. And 1 cup of granulated sugar. Now it's very, very full, so rather than having an eruption all over your kitchen, start on very, very low. And then you can go up and process for approximately a minute. This can then be passed through a fine sieve. See, there was a little bit of flour unincorporated, and that would not make a fine crepe. And a few little bits and pieces of egg. So cover this with plastic wrap and chill overnight. This batter has been in the refrigerator for 24 hours right before using. Blend it again. For about a minute. We're using a 10-inch non-stick pan. This is not the traditional crepe pan. This is the traditional crepe pan. And if you're used to making crepes this way, of course, proceed. But this really is great for beginners, and it's great for everybody. And the butter is at room temperature, and I find that it's best to use butter like this and just brush all over the pan. And this is a ladle that's 2 inches across. You're going to use a scant ladle of batter. Put it right in your pan and swirl. You want the entire bottom of the pan to be covered with the batter, and keep swirling until there is nothing left to swirl. This looks really good. Have on hand a small offset spatula, and I find that when the whole bottom is a little bit bubbly, the crepe is ready to turn. And you can see, if you look really closely, the edges are just starting to brown. And when you get really good, you can flip it. You can lift it with your spatula like this and turn it over. There, perfect. Very nice. And just keep making them until you have your stack of 24 crepes. So now we're going to make the pastry cream that's going to go between the crepes, and that will form the cake. Scrape the seeds from 1 vanilla bean. Drop the seeds into 3 cups of milk as well as the entire bean. That should come to a boil. Add a pinch of salt and 1/4 cup of granulated sugar to the milk. Mix 1/4 cup of sugar, 6 tablespoons of cornstarch, which will be our thickener for the cream. Add 6 egg yolks to your dry ingredients. Now it's very thick. Shake down the sides. Get all that mixed into the egg yolks. And then 2 tablespoons of matcha to your milk. Matcha is a very interesting form of tea. The tea is poached or just steamed, and then it is dried, and then it is finely ground. And it is a beautiful, flavorful, unusual tea. And studies suggest that this form of green tea fights cancer, heart disease, lowers blood pressure, increases bone density, and boosts metabolism. When it's simmering, add 2 tablespoons of the matcha. Look at this. And oh, it smells so good. Now we're going to whisk a little bit of this hot liquid into our egg yolks, tempering the egg yolks so that when we finally put them back in here to cook, they will not curdle. If you did that all at once, it would really get them too hot and curdle the eggs. Get it all whisked in. Now add this to your pot and whisk this in. So let this come to a boil for 2 minutes and then strain it. So just scrape through the strainer, really press gently, and this will all pass through. So beautiful. Now this should be made 24 hours in advance. Keep everything in the refrigerator. So you see, you don't want that in your pastry cream, but you do want the flavor of that. So scrape the bottom, stir in 3 tablespoons of room temperature butter. Let this melt right into your pastry cream. It has a little flavor and a little glossiness, a little richness. Stir until all that butter is melted. Place a piece of plastic wrap right on the surface to keep a skin from forming. Chill this for at least 2 hours, but preferably overnight, 24 hours. So here's our chilled pastry cream. See how it darkened a little bit? Adding the whipped cream lightens this, makes it more fluffy, and it still holds nicely. Fold this in. So beautiful. First crepe, 1/4 cup of the cream. Spread it with a spatula almost to the edge. Pretty impressive, don't you think? Now this has to go into the refrigerator to be chilled for a couple hours, really well chilled. 24 crepes right into the refrigerator. 1 hour or up to 6 hours. So in a small bowl, sift 1 tablespoon of the powdered green matcha with a tablespoon of confectioner's sugar. And there you have a spectacular cake for any occasion. Our crepe cake with green tea. What do you think? A double dose of green tea gives these buttery cookies their unique flavor and an unusual color. This is the way green tea usually is sold. Using a mortar and pestle works very, very well to grind the tea leaves. And you can really break down the leaves, and it comes out to be a fine green powder like this. And you're going to need 2 tablespoons of fine green powder. Now, if you don't have loose tea, you can always just open up one of your green tea bags and use the tea that's inside the bag. And this tea isn't powdery enough, so put that through the process of the mortar and pestle. This will take a minute or 2, and you'll have the fine powder that you need. So 2 tablespoons of green tea leaves that had been ground, and 1 tablespoon of powdered green matcha. Now this is a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Stir that in. And all-purpose flour, 2 cups. Oh, by the way, this is a tea plant. They grow in tea plantations in China or India. So here's our green tea and flour all mixed together. Now, cream your butter, 2 sticks of unsalted butter, a 1/2 cup of confectioner's sugar. Put that right in. And in addition to the 1/2 cup, 2 tablespoons. And add the dry ingredients. The cookie dough will be the bright green of the matcha tea. Have 2 pieces of parchment paper ready because you're going to roll this dough into 1 1/4 inch round logs. So take this out in 2 amounts. We have a little trick, and it's very Japanese, for making the rolls perfect, and that's to use a bamboo mat, which is what the sushi chefs use. So roll it in the paper, and then voila, Japanese bamboo. And this should help you get a perfect round. Oh yes, looking good. So chill these, and after an hour or so, you can slice them and bake them. So here's how the dough looks as it comes out of the freezer. So slice these 1/4 inch thick, Arrange them on your parchment-lined baking sheet. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees and then bake 13 to 15 minutes. So now these beautiful cookies would be so delicious with a cup of hot tea. And when in Japan, I learned all about green tea. So 2 scoops of matcha. And then this is the special little bamboo whisk that you must have to whisk the tea. Water that's just boiled, and you whisk with your bamboo whisk to dissolve all that powder and get a little bit of froth on top of your tea. This is healthy and delicious and really goes very well with those lovely green tea cookies. Delicious. Enjoy. Matcha makes an appearance in every element of this grown-up cupcake, from the moist, tender cake to the white chocolate ganache filling. Who better than a Japanese baker to teach us a little bit more about matcha? We have Eijiro Logano from Chickalicious,
yes,
known as EJ. And he's here to put a green tea twist on an American favorite. Why don't you tell us what the dry ingredients are for this particular cupcake?
So 1 cup of cake flour and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda.
Okay.
And 1/2 teaspoon of the baking powder. And 1/4 teaspoon of the salt.
And how much matcha?
5 teaspoons of matcha.
This makes it green.
Nice green. And then
so you must use a lot of matcha every single day. Okay.
So mix the dry ingredients.
Such a beautiful color. So I better cream the butter, right?
Yes.
Okay,
please.
so 4 tablespoons of butter, not very much butter, and 3/4 of a cup of regular sugar, and 1 large egg.
Yes. What's a beautiful eggs?
Yes, those are all from my chickens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I bring them in every day, and they're very yellow.
Yes, it is.
So you can add the dry ingredients for us.
So 1/3 at a time, like this much. And then and 1/3 more. Go ahead. Yeah, you got it.
And what about the milk?
And the end. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
All right. Then add to the 1/2 cup.
So room temperature it hasn't been heated.
Just room temperature is enough.
Okay.
So
Not
if you
cold.
need cold, the butter is gonna be the coagulate. So room temperature.
Okay.
Just little by little. And then when you mix, it's a mix glutens. Gluten make like a thicker. I think it's okay.
Done? Okay. Done.
Done.
So, okay, so and you're going to use ice cream scoop.
Yes, much easier.
So 1 scoop.
1 scoop.
Now I didn't tell you to preheat your oven, but 350 degrees,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes. And put a center. It's like a half of the cups. Room temperature is a best. It's a fluffier, when you bake.
Get that right into the oven. We'll rotate halfway through until a cake texture comes out clean, about 16 minutes. So now EJ is going to show us how to make a delicious fluffy icing for the cupcakes and a white chocolate green tea ganache. Okay, so 1 cup of sugar to a 1/2 cup of water and make a syrup.
Like a 2 to 3 minutes to boil it up. And then after boil it up, like a 5 seconds. And then move to the ice bath.
Oh, okay, so really chill it.
Little chill.
Okay.
So add the 3 tablespoons the heavy cream to 5-ounce white chocolate and then melt in the double boil.
It's over simmering water. Just be careful not to burn it. So while this melts, cream the butter.
The syrup for the buttercream. So.
Oh no, but we have it cooled.
Oh.
We have a simple syrup, 3/4 of a cup, really thick. And then cream the butter.
Yes.
2 sticks, 1/2 pound of butter, and nothing else.
Butter and syrup.
Okay, like this?
Yes, faster. Try to hit the side of the bowl.
Hit the
because
side.
if you hit the whisk, syrup goes everywhere.
You're right.
Now you can make the ganache. This is a 1 teaspoon the water
Okay.
and add a 2 teaspoons the matcha.
So this will dissolve in cold water.
It's cold water.
Oh.
And move the. Here you go.
So. Beautiful.
Okay. Use the small whisk.
Oh, okay. What a color.
Yes.
So this doesn't separate at all. It gets more fluffy.
More fluffy. So now finish the buttercream.
So how much green tea?
1 teaspoon the green tea.
There. Oh, wow, pretty.
Yes. That's
Okay,
it.
that's it. Okay. So there we have beautiful frosting.
All right.
You have your ganache. So we have to cool this to the same temperature as the frosting.
Yes, it is.
And then we're going to clean up a little bit and show you how to decorate your cupcakes, or EJ's cupcakes, I should say. Thank you. First, the ganache with a pastry bag.
Yes. So always, carry like this.
Yes.
Otherwise. Otherwise, it's dropping.
Okay.
So push into the cupcake in the middle and fill like 1 tablespoon. You see, like
A little volcano.
Yes.
Fabulous. So here we have our buttercream.
Yes. Take out the air from the buttercream and like this high.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
So pretty. That's generous and
Yes.
beautiful.
And use the matcha to decorate just a half.
Very modern.
Yes. And use the ganache on the frosting too.
And what does that mean?
Nothing. It's a pretty.
No. So EJ, thank you so much for a most wonderful lesson. Lots of techniques and beautiful green tea cupcakes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
どういたしまして.
Imagine eating green ice cream in a green ice cream cone. Well, you can actually color beautiful tuiles that are formed into cones with matcha tea. For the cones themselves, the tuile, you'll need 2 cups of confectioner's sugar and 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Sift these 2 ingredients together because the flour and the confectioner's sugar might very well have lumps in it. Now sift this again into another bowl with 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of matcha. So here we have our dry ingredients. And now just break up 6 egg whites. You don't really have to get them too frothy. Add 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. We're making the batter for the tuile. And the tuile are going to be shaped into beautiful ice cream cones. Now this looks like a lot of butter, but it's very important for the tuile, which in French means tile. 10½ tablespoons of unsalted butter, melted and cooled, along with that tablespoon of cream and 1 teaspoon of good vanilla. And now you can gradually add your flour to this mix. It takes a little while for the liquid to absorb the flour, but it will. The basic tuile dough can be enhanced by flavorings such as matcha tea, chocolate, vanilla, lemon, orange. A plain tuile is delicious. You can find a plain tuile in the shape of a cigarette, dipped in chocolate on one end. Now I'm just going to transfer this into the bowl of remaining flour. The tuile dough is a little bit of a sticky dough, a little bit like glue. And once you get this all stirred, be prepared to put it through a fine sieve. So this is the batter. Press this through the sieve with your rubber scraper. It goes through very nicely. Now this gets covered, chilled, at least 2 hours and preferably overnight. So it helps to use a silicone baking mat in the bottom of your sheet pan, but also spray with a non-stick spray. It's really important. These little shapes are very good too to make sure you have a perfectly round tuile. These are made out of a silicone material, and you can buy these or you can make one. And a tablespoon is about the right amount. Just drop it right in the center of your mold. And this is just a fraction of an inch thick. Use an offset spatula to evenly spread your tuile mix. Now lift up your form. Isn't that great? And spread this one. You can only bake 2 at a time. Preheat your oven at 375, 5 minutes. The edges are golden brown, and immediately wrap it right into your cone. Let it cool a little bit. And this one can go over a bowl. If it gets too hard, you can put that back into the oven just to soften for 1 second. And you can put another little bowl right on top to form the cup, to give it a little shape. The result is charming. Now there's one last thing to do. All the little cones have a little tiny hole right here. You don't want your ice cream dripping out. So take a little melted chocolate, and this is an eclair tip for filling eclairs or cream puffs, and just squiggle a little bit of dark chocolate or white chocolate right here in the bottom of the cone. That'll harden and act as a little dam. If you don't use this long tip, the pressure from the bag might crack the cone, and then all your work will be for naught. And we don't want that. So now the ice cream. Dip your scoop in a little bit of warm water and dry it. And for the perfect green tea. Doesn't that look amazing? What about a pretty tuile cup? Gorgeous. So this is a spectacular dessert, and it's amazing that something so delicious can be kind of healthy too. Green tea? Exactly. Thanks for watching, and see you on Martha Bakes next time. Place 3 egg whites, 2/3 cup sugar, and a pinch of salt in a mixer bowl. Set over simmering water. Whisk until sugar is dissolved. Transfer to mixer and whisk until stiff peaks form. Sift together 2 tablespoons confectioner's sugar and 1 tablespoon matcha and fold in. Using a 1/2 inch star tip, pipe 32 1 1/4 inch kisses. Bake at 175 degrees until dry, about 2 hours.